I'll just go get him an apple, man. Mason really, really likes apples.
We can share love divine. Please don't make me wait again. And will you say yes to me?
Oh, did you get that from the little claw thing?
Yeah.
I saw that. I was like, oh, I love it. Airing out your mouth? Yeah. 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 Where they had it was like a seaweed thing. Yeah, that smells horrible.
All right, good morning, folks. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Awesome. A couple of introductions just getting started here, folks. My name's Kevin. I'm going to be your boat captain / tour guide. Hello. We also have Tiana on board. She's running around downstairs somewhere. Tiana, she's actually going to be the first mate aboard the vessel. She'll also be your reef goddess as well as your bartender. All right, so you definitely want to be nice to her. Now, a little bit about the boat you are traveling on, folks. This is in fact known as the Looking Glass. Now she is a 55-foot glass bottom boat. Believe it or not, guys, the glass bottom is in fact on the bottom. All right. The reason we're not down there's absolutely nothing to see around here. So once we get out to where we can actually see something, we'll then go down and do a viewing. How's that sound? Awesome. Conveniently located next to our glass bottom, we do have a bar on board. Folks, the way our bar works, it's pretty simple. Everybody on board, we have complimentary soda, complimentary water. For those of you that want to try a rum swizzle, we have $3 rum swizzles on board today. It's also a fully stocked bar, guys, so there is beer, wine, and highballs down there also. Right next to the bar, we do have 2 heads on board. You guys know what these are? Yeah, they're bathrooms, all right? However, we don't call them bathrooms on boats because they function nothing like bathrooms. So basically, nothing's going to go into that head unless it's been through you at least once. Everything else goes into the trash can beside the head. Now with it, guys, it is a pretty sophisticated boat, and that's in that it's a push-button system. So just push and hold the button for 10 seconds, and all your problems should disappear. If they don't, then you want to see Tiana, all right? Don't come to me. You guys would also be glad to know that there are life jackets on board located up here on either side of me. The last count was 90 of them. So in the event that we happen to lose altitude at any point during our tour today, we can tie them all together and build a small raft. We should be just fine. So guys, that is a little bit about the boat. Like I said, my name's Kevin, her name is Tiana. Both of us are actually born and raised here in Bermuda, all right? I'm actually 9th generation Bermudian, so about as local as you're gonna get. Now, the accent that we have is what's known as tour guide accent, all right? Talk to you guys all day. I also went to school out there in the States. Still spend most of my winter months out there in Florida, so it rubs off there a little bit as well. But I would point this out to you right now, guys. We are, in fact, right now looking at the entire island of Bermuda, all right? This is it. This is the entire island. Bermuda is, in fact, a whopping total of 22 square miles. We're only 24 miles from tip to tip, and we're just over 1 mile wide at our widest point. So we are extremely small and extremely isolated. A lot of people, they always tend to affiliate Bermuda with the Caribbean. Being an island, warm weather, beautiful ocean, they think Bermuda, they think Caribbean. However, folks, we are nowhere near the Caribbean. We're actually over 1,000 miles off the coast of the Caribbean, to whereas we're only about 750 miles off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. So you are, in fact, right now closer to Canada than you are to the Caribbean. Now, the reason that we get this lovely weather and this gorgeous ocean that surrounds us is, in fact, due to the Gulf Stream that passes the island and brings it all up to us. Now, not only does that bring us up nice weather, but it also brings us up hurricanes. All right, here in Bermuda, we are world-renowned for our hurricanes, which I'll touch back down on in just a little bit. But I will start my tour off. I'll tell you guys a little bit about the dockyard area. That's where you guys are situated at the moment. A couple of highlights up there in the dockyard. They got like the Clock Tower Mall up there. That's great for like gift shopping. They also house like the Arts and Crafts Center. Great place to get unique handmade items here in Bermuda. That's also where we house the Rum Cake Factory, the Glass Blowing Studio, and the Maritime Museum. So there is quite a bit to offer up there in that Royal Naval Dockyard. Now the big fortified structure known as the Royal Naval Dockyard, when that place was actually operational, they classed that as one of the largest and most powerful Navy bases in the world outside of Britain itself. Now they actually nicknamed that place the Gibraltar of the West. Now they started building that in 1780. Now does anybody know why we put that big fortified structure here in peaceful little Bermuda in 1780? 4 years prior to that, 1776, all right, Britain lost a sizable chunk of real estate. Now there's bound to be a little animosity when one loses half a continent, right? So what they did was they actually set that up there, not so much to launch an attack on the U.S., but just to keep an eye on them, just in case they slipped up, we were going to slip back in and take it back. Now don't think just because we turned it into a shopping center, we're still not watching. Right? Yeah, you don't want the Bermuda Army to come after you. We're 200 strong, baby, all day. So that's all up there in the dockyard. Now if you guys had looked at a map of Bermuda, you would have in fact noticed this island shaped like a fish hook. Now the tip of the hook where you place the bait, ironically, that's where the cruise ships are. Then it runs around in this big ball shape. All this land up here in front of us, this is actually all what's known as Somerset. Now there's not much to do in Somerset. I'll give you a hint on how exciting they are. Their big claim to fame, they have the world's smallest drawbridge. Yeah, it's an 18-inch plank of wood that goes across the road, all right? So that's up here in Somerset. As we keep running our eyes along the top of the island, we'll run right into that lighthouse up there on the hillside. Now that's actually what's known as the Gibbs Hill Lighthouse. Now that is in fact the oldest still operating cast iron lighthouse in the Western Hemisphere. 354 feet above sea level, 185 steps at the top, with a 360-degree balcony once you get up there, with breathtaking views of the entire island. To the left of that big building up there on the hillside, that's the Fairmont Southampton Princess. Now, on the other side of those two land structures is actually where you're going to find all of Bermuda's beautiful pink sand beaches. Horseshoe Bay, Warwick, Long Bay, Church Bay, Elbow Beach, all those beautiful beaches are just ajar that hillside there. Now as we keep running left of that, we kind of go center of the island. This is actually where you're going to find the city of Hamilton, all right, the capital of Bermuda. Now you cannot see our city directly, however our city lies on a beautiful harbor. So you can in fact take the ferry right into the city of Hamilton and get off in the heart of the city. Now with the city of Hamilton, guys, size-wise it is in fact one of the smallest cities in the world. However, financially it's actually one of the largest cities in the world. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people, they do fail to realize what Bermuda's main industry is. A lot of people think that it's tourism. However, tourism doesn't even make up 10% of our economy here. Bermuda's main industry is in fact insurance and reinsurance. Here in Bermuda, we are in fact the insurance and reinsurance capital of the world. So we actually hold about 25% of the world's insurance and 50% of the world's reinsurance. For those of you that don't know what reinsurance is, reinsurance are insurance companies that insure insurance companies, all right? And that's actually 75% of our GDP. And that all takes place right there in the city of Hamilton, the capital of Bermuda. Now directly behind us, that far bit of land back there, that is St. George. So that is in fact the entire island from tip to tip. Now down there in St. George, guys, that's a great place to go and check out. That's actually a World Heritage Site. It's one of the oldest towns in the Western Hemisphere, and it hasn't changed much in the past 300 years. Beautiful cobblestone roads, real quaint buildings, an assortment of really nice shopping and restaurants, and it also has a variety of very nice beaches down there. So that's always a great place to go to get away from the crowds of all the busy South Shore beaches. As you head down there to the east end, you'd find about a third of the people down there on those beaches. Now just off to the right-hand side of the boat here, folks, we have all these pretty little pastel houses. This is quite nice, waterfront, palm trees, not too shabby. Now I think you guys actually refer to this as the ghetto, or the hood. This is the Bermuda Projects right here, folks. Yeah. Imagine how hard it is to be a gangster when you live in a beach house. Okay. But what this is, guys, this is Bermuda's first attempt at low-income housing right here. Now, we actually set this up about 16 years ago. Now, these are all divided into two-bedroom condominiums. Now, would anybody want to take a guess at what low-income housing went for here in Bermuda 16 years ago? Two-bedroom condominium to purchase? Yeah, it's pretty close. They were asking $500,000, all right? $500,000 for low-income housing down here. Now, the thing is, it didn't sell right away. Shocker, right? A lot of locals will tell you that we're laid back. Folks, I'm not going to lie to you, we're lazy, okay? Anything more than a 10-minute drive down here is considered a commute. Like my brother, he lives 11 minutes away. I haven't seen that dude in like 2 years, all right? So no one to pay $500,000 to live in the hood and then have to commute 45 minutes to work every day. Because that's how long it takes to get to the city from up here. So So they actually dropped the price down to $450,000, and they sold like hotcakes. Now you keep in mind, guys, that's 16 years ago. If I as a local was to go out and purchase a home right now, more or less a starter home here in Bermuda, 2-bedroom, quarter of an acre, no view of the ocean, not even a swimming pool, that's going to be anywhere from about $800,000 to $1 million. So it has been deemed as some of the highest real estate in the world to date. Now part of the reason for that, folks, is due to the way we build. The average weight of a Bermudian roof alone is actually upwards of 4.5 tons. By building code, it's 66 pounds per square foot. So essentially, here in Bermuda in hurricanes, we just fill our bathtubs up with ice and beer, and it's a day off of work, all right? It's pretty sweet. Now, to give you an idea, in 2003, Bermuda got hit by a hurricane known as Hurricane Fabian. Hurricane Fabian, guys, first off, was the size of Texas. It was a direct hit on Bermuda. Here in Bermuda, we had maximum sustained winds of 175 miles an hour. We were recording gusts upwards of 190. Now this was a direct hit. We're talking 12 hours straight of hurricane force winds. The island of Bermuda, we were actually up and running in a week, and only 2 lives were lost. So pretty impressive, that's for sure. Now coming up here in front of us, folks, we have the Watford Bridge. Now folks, this is in fact the biggest bridge in Bermuda. I'll give you guys a few seconds to get all in. Don't rush it. As we're sliding into Watford Bridge, folks, we come into one of my favorite parts of Bermuda. This little area back here is what's known as Mangrove Bay. Now Mangrove Bay, obviously at one point in time, this bay would have been covered in mangroves. Mangroves are a type of tree that grow in and near the salt water, so this bay would have been covered in them. Here in Bermuda, as you'll get to find, we're also very simple people down here. We kind of call it as we see it. Like for example, the 3 main roads on the island. The one that runs on the North Shore, that's North Shore Road. The one that runs on the South Shore, that's South Shore Road. The one that runs up the middle, that's Middle Road. Our national bird, it has a long tail, so we called it the Long Tail. Pretty simple, that's for sure. But anyway, guys, at this point in time, does anybody have any questions on anything? Anything at all, folks? I can answer anything from seahorse to beer. If I don't know it, I will make it up, but I'll make it sound good, I promise. Yes, down the back there. Bermuda is, we're self-governed, all right? So what that means is, like, I'm considered Bermudian. Yes, we're our own country. I held a Bermudian passport. We have our own currency, which is the Bermuda dollar, which is dollar for dollar with the U.S. That's why you can use your currency here on the island, all right? And with that, how it works, guys, is we elect our government. The government's all local. The government runs the island. The Queen appoints a governor. The governor's only job is to make sure that our government followed by British law. So our governor has no say on what or how we run the island as long as it's within British law. Good question. Yes? What's the average salary? See, a lot of people don't know this about Bermuda, but since 2015, Bermuda has been deemed as the most expensive place in the world to live, all right? We are outrageously expensive down here. A gallon of milk is 10 bucks. Carton eggs is $6.75. Fuel down here is $9 a gallon, all right? So it's outrageously expensive. So everybody always wonders, like, how do you survive down here with everything being so expensive? Well, also, Bermuda does have the highest income per capita in the world, all right? Our average income down here is $96,000 tax-free. It's also mandatory for your employer to pay 50% of your medical insurance. However, you'll find that most employers will pay 100%, so there is no deduction from your paycheck. So what you make is what you take down here, which sounds really good, right? Yeah, until you go out and buy a $10 gallon of milk, all right? Or fill your car up at $9 a gallon. So I've actually lived and worked here in Bermuda. I've lived and worked in the States. It's the same standard of living. The only difference is that home ownership is more of a dream here than anywhere else in the world. But inheritance is awesome. Yeah. Any other questions? Anybody want to know? Yes? I mean, we have so many different depths of water. First off, you're going to notice as we round this corner here, you're going to start to see different colors of the water. Now, the different colors of water is determined by the depth of water and the makeup of the bottom. So the lighter the turquoise, the shallower the water with sandy bottom. The darker the blue, the deeper the water with sandy bottom. This greenish water that we're driving over here is about 12 to 18 feet of water with turtle grass on the bottom of it. All the brown patches that you're going to start to see up here around the boat, that's going to be all your coral reef system. That's where all the fishies live. Now between us and the outer reef line of Bermuda, because here in this little island, we're surrounded by 180 square miles of coral reef that completely circumnavigate the island. So I can essentially take you out about 10 miles in that direction, get you off the boat, and stand you in knee-deep water. You can't even see the island on a rough or hazy day, however you can stand. Now with that, between us and that outer reef line, the maximum depth is only going to be about 60 feet of water. Once you get beyond that outer reef line, the ocean floor will in fact drop to about 22,000 feet. So it's actually the second deepest ocean range in the world. Good question. Any other questions? Anybody want- Yes. No, mangroves are all over the world. Yeah, they're all over the world. Yeah, we just have them in certain parts of the island. Yeah. Any other questions? The pink beaches are still there. Yeah. They're there. They're on the South Shore. Yeah. Any other questions? Anything at all? It's getting good. Throw it out there. Doesn't even have to be relevant. Nothing. All right. Well, as we're cruising around the island, guys, I'm sure you've noticed all this rock that we're actually made out of that you see all around the shoreline. Now this rock, this does look volcanic, all right? However, this is not volcanic rock. This is actually what's known as limestone. Now the reason it doesn't look like the traditional limestone that you guys are used to, you know, that white, clean, porous rock, is because when you integrate that limestone to our high saltwater content and high humidity levels, it actually gets a cyanobacteria that grows on the outside of it, kind of like crust on a bread. So that's what gives it that outer appearance of that volcanic rock. Now the way Bermuda was actually formed, well, we were a volcano that never quite reached the surface of the water. You had millions of years of coral growth on top of the volcano. As the ice ages came and left, the sea levels then dropped. All that coral was then exposed. If you leave coral for millions and millions of years, it turns into sand dunes. You leave sand dunes for millions and millions of years, it turns into limestone. So that's actually what the island is constructed out of, is limestone. Now if you can imagine Bermuda being a volcano, the top ridge of the volcano is actually the island itself, and then the outer reef line is going to be the outer ridge of that volcano, alright? So all on the right side of the boat at one point in time, this actually all would have been land at one point off to our right hand side. Now just coming up here on the left, guys, we got all these little pretty pink cottages here. Now what this is actually known as the Cambridge Beaches. And this is actually one of Bermuda's 5-star resorts. You get a room over here, they start at really ridiculous prices, and they go up to, wow, that's expensive. However, you don't just get your own room if you don't want. You can actually get your own little cottage. You can get your own beach, you can get your own butler, and you can get your own 5-star chef on call. So all of these little cottages, they have the open kitchen plan, so you can just call up the chef, tell them what you want to eat. They'll come right into your room, they prepare the meal right in front of you. They'll pick you up out of bed, they walk you out on the porch, they sit you down, they spoon feed you that meal. You got the idea, right? It's quite a nice resort known as the Cambridge Beaches. Now also, as we are cruising along this resort, guys, I always like to point out all the beautiful white roofs that you guys... All these beautiful white roofs that you guys are looking at, I'll explain those to you, alright? See, here in Bermuda, we actually have no means of fresh water. There are no freshwater lakes or streams down here. So we, in fact, have to collect all of our...
We're going to notice about all of these corals that you see down here on the bottom, or whether you go snorkeling around Bermuda, alright, wherever you are, all the coral here in Bermuda is always going to have a very neutral base system. So I'm sure you guys already noticed that you guys can see there's a lot of browns down there, right, mustards, there's a few of those dark purples, but there's not a lot of the bright colors like all those pinks and blues, right? All of those brightly colored corals are called box corals, and you are going to find them in places like the Caribbean and Australia, as they need a very constant water temperature year-round to survive. Alright, they can only withstand about a 10-degree water temperature fluctuation. Now, the reason why we cannot facilitate those box corals here in Bermuda strictly has to do with our location. A lot of people don't really know where we are located in the world, alright? I'm sure you guys haven't really been paying attention where you are, but I'm sure you guys have figured out by now that you are not on a Caribbean cruise and that you're just somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic, right? So we're actually over 1,000 miles off the coast of the Bahamas, and we're only 750 miles off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada. Alright, so you guys are in fact closer to Canada than you are to any part of the Caribbean right now. How crazy does that sound? A little crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. We're pretty far north. So because of this, Bermuda, we're actually a subtropical country. So this means that we do actually get a winter time. Alright, obviously this winter time is like nothing compared to where you guys are all from. Right, but we do get a winter, we do go through a bit of a water temperature fluctuation. Yeah, so in the wintertime, our water temperatures can get down to about 62. Bone chilling 62, yeah. And then in the in the summertime, our water temperatures can actually get as high as 89. Alright, so although 62 isn't cold for you guys and 89 is pretty warm, you have to consider the 30-degree water temperature fluctuation that these corals are going through. Alright, and that's a lot. Those are actually the minimum and maximum temperatures that those corals down there can survive in. Alright, so while we do not have any of those brightly colored corals, right, all the colorful corals, all of the coral that we do have here in Bermuda is very hardy. Alright, it is very resilient, it is very strong coral, alright, and it is actually some of the healthiest reef systems in the world, and that's because we've only lost about 11% of our reef system in the past 200 years. Yep, whereas other places around the world, like say for example Jamaica down to the Caribbean, they've actually lost about 85% of their reef system. Like Australia, they're actually saying that the remainder of the Great Barrier Reef is going to completely die off. So that 11% that we've lost here doesn't sound too bad anymore, right? But it is still pretty sad stuff. I know you guys are on your second day here now, alright? I'm sure you guys have all pretty much already noticed that we are very, very simple people here in Bermuda. Alright, we pretty much call things just like we see them. And the same goes for the naming scheme of our coral, so that means that if you guys explain the coral, pretty much already named it. Alright, so the easiest coral that you guys are going to see down there today is the boulder. He has lines and grooves just like a brain. Anybody want to take a guess as to what we call that one? Brain coral, exactly. Pretty simple, right? Another one you guys are going to see down there, he looks like coiling cattails. We actually call this one the sea rod or the sea whip. Now you guys are going to see some of them that are brown and fluffy, and you're going to see others that are smooth and purple. Alright, they are actually the same type of coral, and what they do is they run on a 12-hour sleeping and feeding cycle. So the brown fluffy one, he's actually awake and feeding, and then the smooth purple one is actually sleeping. So what they do is they feed for 12 hours, and then they sleep for 12 hours, and then they feed for 12 hours, and then they sleep again for another 12 hours. Does that sound familiar to any of you guys? Yeah. Sound like you guys are on your cruise ship right now? Another coral you guys are going to see down there is a mustardy boulder, and it has bugs. It almost resembles the head of a cauliflower. Anybody want to take a wild guess? Cauliflower coral, there you go. You guys pretty much caught on, right? This next one is a little bit more difficult to name. Alright, you gotta think about it just a little bit extra. You're gonna see him, he's purple, he lives in the sea, and he looks just like a fan. Pardon? Where does he live? In the sea. So what do we call him? Somebody said it's a purple season. Yay. Yeah, so on science. And then another coral that you guys are going to see down there. He's got white tips on sort of brownish looking branches. He almost resembles a fire underneath the water. So what do you guys think we call that one? The fire coral, exactly. Now the fire coral, he doesn't just get his name because he kind of looks like a fire, but also because if you were to go down there and touch him, he will actually burn you just like a fire will. Alright, but it is very, very important to know that it is not just the fire coral that can hurt you if you go down there and touch it. Alright, all of these corals have what we call a natural defense mechanism, meaning that if you go down there and touch them, they aren't even going to give you a cut, a sting, or a burn. Alright, so very, very important. If you guys are planning on going snorkeling while you're here, or anywhere else in the world, alright, doesn't matter where you are, if you go down there and touch that coral, you are definitely going to hurt yourself, but most importantly, you will actually be hurting the coral at the same time, because they are very, very fragile animals. Now, a lot of people tend to think that corals are just plants. You're half right. Alright, corals are actually plant cells and animal cells that that live together in a symbiotic relationship. So the plant cell will provide oxygen for the animal cell, while the animal cell in turn will provide carbon dioxide for the plant cell. And as you guys can see, these corals are always going to be found in very warm, very shallow waters, and this is because the plant cell feeds on photosynthesis, which involves sunlight, right? So their shallow waters are needed so that the light can actually penetrate and get down to that coral, and then the animal cell will actually feed off of organic matter naturally found in our ocean. But like I said, guys, these corals, they are very, very fragile. So just to give you guys an idea of how fragile these corals really are, say you guys were snorkeling or you're swimming, or you're in the water and you see some coral and you decided that it would be a great idea for you to go down there and touch it. So you went up to a great coral and you very, very gently just rest your hand, very gently rest your hand on that coral. Now if you were to come back in about a week or so, you're actually going to find the outline of your handprint being embedded in that coral. And then if you were to come back in a few more weeks, you would actually find that fossil coral to be completely dead. So those are going to be some of the white patches that you guys might see down there today on those corals. Alright, and these corals, they also take a very long time to grow. Would anybody like to guess how long it takes a brain coral to grow to the size of a soccer ball? More than 100, you're in the right range. 200 years, alright, to grow to the size of a soccer ball. That's a very long time, right? And then, you know, it only takes a few weeks for you to actually kill off that coral just by going down there and touching it. It's very important that we do not go down there and interfere with all this stuff, right? Now, because these corals are so fragile and they do take so long to grow, this makes the conservation of our corals very, very important. Alright, here in Bermuda, we are sitting at home, you know, fish tank, this is a real deal shipwreck, guys. It has been down here for 122 years. And as you can see, there is coral growing all over it. Alright? What we're going to keep our eyes out for down here is going to be straight lines and perfect circles. That's going to be your indication of all of the man-made features. Alright, all these straight lines and perfect circles, that's going to be the hatches, your portholes, the gunnel is going to be the side of the ship. If you see a perfectly rounded edge, alright, that's going to be the stern. The part that comes up close to the water line is the boiler section, which we just came off with this then, and then the part that's completely sticking up out of the water over there, that is the bow. Alright, like I said, we'll have a look at that part later on. Now I'm sure you guys are starting to see all of these fish that are coming up under the glass. Alright, these fish, they are going to be hanging out with us while we are over here checking out our shipwreck. But if you don't see any come up under the glass right away, don't be alarmed because they are going to be following us around later on when we do our laps. But the different types of fish that you guys are going to see down here, there are 3 different types of gray ones, and I'm sure you guys have already seen that black, yellow striped one. That black and yellow striped fish, that is known as the sergeant major or the cow collie. Alright, and this is Bermuda's most aggressive fish. So you guys are like planning on going snorkeling or swimming and you encounter this fish. We're just right on top of the stern of our shipwreck, guys. You'll see how it's very flat, alright, because we're on the top deck, you know, of the ship's man-made feature. And you'll see that it's going to get super deep off to the side here. So like I said, that black and yellow striped fish, very, very aggressive. If you're snorkeling, it's going to come right up to you, might nibble on your toes a little bit. He won't leave you alone, it's going to be following you around. But do not be alarmed, this fish only grows up to a size of about 4 inches and he has no teeth. So do not be alarmed, there's a little fish that's going to bum you to death. Now, yep, you can see him right there. Very small, he's very vicious. We're just coming off top of the boiler section here. Now, the other fish you guys are going to see, there's 3 different types of gray fish that you guys are going to see. The first one, he's shaped like an American football, and he's kind of chubby. So we call him the Bermuda chub. Alright, no surprise. Another one you guys are going to see down there, he's got a black dot on his tail. That is known as the Bermuda bream. And then the other green fish you guys are going to see is going to be the biggest one of them all, and that is a gray or mangrove snapper. Alright, he might have a big, thick black stripe across his eye, and that is an indication that he is feeling very hungry or very aggressive, or maybe even both. Who knows? So the reason why all these fish are actually hanging out over here at the shipwreck, guys, is because of the shipwreck itself. Alright, you would have noticed that you didn't really see any of those fish over there at the reef we're looking at. The reason why they're over here hanging out at the shipwreck is because another conservation law that we have here in Bermuda, which states that there is to be no fishing at any shipwreck. Alright, so because this shipwreck is inshore, there is to be no fishing for a 100-meter radius. So these fish are so smart that they'll literally swim to about 90 meters and then they'll turn around and they'll go back. Pretty smart, right? Does anybody know why they're so smart? Because they're in school. There you go. It's still too early for you guys. Okay. That was a pretty good one. Now this ship that we are checking out here, guys, this is the wreck of the HMS Vixen, alright, Her Majesty's ship. She was built in Deptford, England, and she was commissioned in 1864. Alright, we're still on top of it, so you guys can continue to check out what's in the glass bottom. Alright, this ship was a Greco-style ramming vessel. Alright, what that means is that she was designed to chase down other ships and ram them. So we're just coming top of the stern here. Alright, so when we take a look at her bow later on, you guys are going to notice that it's not shaped like your normal looking bow. Alright, it kind of like protrudes into the water, sticks out a little bit, and that's the part they would use to actually go to the other ships and ram them with it. Now obviously you guys can see that this ship did somehow end up here in Bermuda as a shipwreck. It did take a few steps to get to this point, but the first reason was actually because they built her out of iron. Does anybody know what happens when you put iron into soap water? It's gonna rust, right? So then the British decided they didn't want to be driving around in a rusty vessel, right? Fair enough. So they decided that they were going to clad this ship with 8-inch thick pieces of teak wood. Now if you guys are familiar with this teak wood, you'll know it's very heavy, very dense, great for patio furniture during hurricanes here in Bermuda, but not so much in a 160-foot long vessel that was trying to chase down other ships. So all this did was basically trap all of that salt water against the iron vessel. It caused the ship to rust even faster, and then it slowed her down because all that wood was so heavy. So at this point in time, the Vixen actually had a top speed of about 5 knots. Alright, if you guys know anything about boat speed, you'll know 5 knots is not very fast at all. So what they decided to do was to add 2 masts and sails in hopes that this would speed her up. And it did, but only to about 8 knots, which still was not fast enough. Because all of the other ships at the time were actually doing a solid 12 to 14 knots. So as you guys can see, the Vixen was not a very successful ramming vessel because she was so slow and she couldn't even catch up to any of the ships that she would try to ram. So the Queen deemed this ship a failure, and as she does with all of her failures, she decided that she was going to send this ship down here to little old Bermuda. And now we were to use her as a coastal defense ship. However, we are surrounded by 180 square miles of coral reef that completely circumnavigate the island. Alright, so not only was she super slow, but she couldn't even maneuver around the island properly. Now, luckily, we're still building the Romeo Rock her ship is, and we just
Him with the camera.
Alright guys, everybody enjoying that? Awesome guys, we got a nice cruise back to the ship. Alright, that water's looking the whole way back. So if you guys want to grab some beds, you're more than welcome to. Other than that guys, sit back and enjoy the scene on the back of the ship.
See all the fish when we went away?
There's fish.
You see the tons of fish that got away from it? Yeah, I see. I should jump here. We looked away from the boat. You can see all these fish.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a long line to go.
Give it up for contestant
But
number
our
4!
line got shorter. Well,
Go
it did.
Nelson, go Nelson.
That is long.
Oh! Look at those legs. Oh! Hey, easy there. All right. Ow! Show us those legs, Nelson. Show us those legs. Whoa! Let's give it up for contestant number 4. All right. You're like the three amigos, man. 1, 2, 3. Javier, Nelson, and Benedetto. Where you? No, why do I bother? You probably for connect. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. All right, so you also grew up together. All right, are you ready for this?
Well, big now we're over there.
Too bad. We're gonna do it anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up for contestant number 5. Okay. All right. Whatever that means. Time. Show us those legs. Yeah. Show us those legs. Show us those legs. Roll those hands out. Roll them up. Roll them up.
Let me check them.
Come back here. Come back here. Come back. We gotta see those legs. Roll those hands. Roll them up. No. Roll those hands up. Yeah.
Let's go eat some of that seaweed.
Let's give it up for contestant number 5. Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm not.
Ladies, are you okay? Yes. All right, contestant number 6. What is your name? Robert. Robert, where are you from? Brooklyn. From Brooklyn. All right. This is for you, Robert. Pat Daddy's ready for your dance. Here we go. Let's give it up
We're
for
getting
contestant number 6.
There you go.
Go, Robert.
Goodbye, Bermuda.
Go, Robert. Oh, look at those legs. Woo. And more. The ladies want more.
Down there.
Robert, the ladies want more. ready? Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up